Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nitya Gaura Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. So, I think we could just move over here because it's a nice small number of us. We can keep it contained. Today is Ekadashi, and so we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta, written by Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj. We are in the fourth volume, and we're in the chapter entitled Unlimited Opportunity, Limited Time. I think that's better. Okay. So we'll just read and we'll comment something as we go along. And therefore we should just say the prayers now. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Kadambhavana Swami Namine Pura Kritamritam Prapto Prajamaya Prepya Prabhupada Prayalokam Payati Anivaritam. Sri Prabhupada once told Yamuna, when she asked the question, like, it was a service that she felt incapable of doing. And he told her that if you just chant these 2 mantras, then all ability will descend on you to do that service. And those 2 mantras were Om Gyana Timirandasya Giranjana Shalakaya Chakshurumalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Second mantra, Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. So, and that when you chant those 2 mantras, that all the ability to do whatever the service was that you felt incapable of doing would come. I think you can test it out and see. So, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta, Volume 4, Unlimited Opportunity, Limited Time. As the record went into production, the devotees returned to their regular work. Still living separately, Prabhupada set the time of his arrival for early September. He would go to Hamburg and then come to London, he said, even if there was no temple. Miraculously, only 2 months before Prabhupada's arrival, things began to come together. Guru Das met a real estate agent with a building on Bury Place near the British Museum. The devotees could move in immediately. An ideal location, £41 a week, and immediate occupancy. It was wonderful. Mukunda wrote Prabhupada asking him for money for the down payment. Prabhupada agreed. Shyama got a letter from George on the Apple Corporation Limited stationery stating that Apple would guarantee payments if the devotees defaulted. Within a week, the devotees had a 5-story building in central London. But when the devotees went to live near their new center on Bury Place, city officials said that they did not have the proper housing permits. The red tape could take weeks, even months. Again, the devotees were without a place to live and worship together. Shyama however, on faith that everything would work out, began constructing a temple room of California redwood in the building. John Lennon then suggested to Shyama that the devotees can live with him at Tittenhurst, a large estate that had recently been purchased near Ascot. He needed some renovation done, and if the devotees would help, he would give them a place to live. Can our gurus stay there? Shyama asked. George agreed, and the devotees moved into the former servants' quarters at John's estate. Only a few weeks before Prabhupada's arrival, the record, Hare Krishna Mantra, was released. Apple Records staged a promotion that brought the white pavilion where the devotees had gathered with George. Sorry, that doesn't sound right. Apple Records staged a promotion and brought press reporters and photographers in a multicolored bus to a blue and white pavilion where the devotees had gathered with George. The first day, the record sold 70,000 copies. Within a few weeks, the devotees appeared on the popular TV show, Top of the Pops, singing their song. I can stand to be corrected, but this album included also Yamuna's Govindam prayers. And now that we're in the part where the record was fully established, but when we hear the Govindam prayers every day, and we hear Yamuna Devi singing those prayers together with the devotees who were there at the time, you can very tangibly feel the devotion in that rendition is so palpable. And at that time, they were singing the Brahma Samhita, Venum Vantam Aravinda Dadaya Daksham. But this Brahma Samhita, it's deep meditation. These prayers are deep meditation on the form of Krishna, on his activities in the spiritual world, and on what the spiritual world is like, what it looks like, and gives explicit detail. And I wonder if at that time they had any clue of the depth of what they were singing. Of course, Srila Prabhupada had given them entrance into that depth. But can you imagine singing one song or recording one kirtan and how it can echo throughout time? Because that record that has now come on Top of the Pops, at least that song in that record also, played in every single temple, everywhere around the world, every single ISKCON temple, every single day. And so every single day, Yamuna Devi is singing for the Lord. Every single day in every single temple. And that's quite something. It's really something if you think about it. Who else can say they have that? The only temple I know that doesn't do it is the Nishinga temple in Simachalam. Because this Lord Nishingadev, it's a bit weird when you're singing Govindamadi Purusham Namam Vajami, sweet threefold bending form of Govinda, and there's Nishingadev. So it's a bit strange. Therefore, they have different mantras that are sung at greetings. But in every other temple, Yamuna Devi sings the song, which is this record that we're hearing about, with explicit devotion. It reminds me that the fact that Comfort was mentioning to me how he likes the Mangalarti mantras and the songs that we sing. I asked him whether he read the translations, and he was still in that process. But the point is that the songs that we sing every day, whether it's Mangalarti, whether it's Guru Puja, the songs that we sing every day, they're poetry compiled by the free Acharyas. And it's their songs are echoing throughout time. When Narottam Das Thakur is singing to Lokanath Goswami, Shri Guru Charana Padma, he wrote it in, 500 odd years ago now. But every day we're singing those same mantras, those same verses that he wrote. And so his service is echoing throughout time. And so similarly, here we are in this lilamrta, where this record is coming now, in recorded form on a, what do you call these things from LPs? Yeah, never really saw one in my life. Yeah, so, and that also is echoing throughout time. John Lennon's estate, formerly owned by the Cadbury family, consisted of 76 acres of lawn and forest with a large manor and many small buildings. John and his wife, Yoko, lived in the manor. The servants' quarters were where Prabhupada and the devotees to live. Were 4 separate apartments in a single narrow building near the manor. About 15 devotees moved in, reserving one apartment for Prabhupada and his servant. So the servant quarters had 4 separate apartments. So you can imagine what the estate must have been like. John wanted the devotees to tear out the hardwood walls and floors in the main house and replace them with new walls and black and white marble tile floors. While this renovation was beginning, Ishana, who had recently arrived from Canada, began with a few helpers to convert the old music recital hall into a temple, complete with Vyasasan for Srila Prabhupada. The devotees worked day and night on Prabhupada's quarters, the temple room, and Prabhupada's Vyasasan. With such energy did they work that John and Yoko could see the devotees were obviously in love with their spiritual master. When the devotees were making a tape to send to Prabhupada in Germany, Ishana asked John if he had anything he wanted to say to their guru. John smiled and said he would like to know Prabhupada's secret that made his followers so devoted. Expressions of love is very contagious. Most of the time when we connect to Krishna consciousness and we don't experience any love, because we're not at the point where we experience some sort of love for the deities or for the devotees or for some elevated spiritual personality, but you get to be the observer of other people's love. I remember being at Janmashtami one year, probably I think it was my first Janmashtami. And your first Janmashtami, there's only one thing you're thinking about, the fast. That's the meditation for everyone's first, maybe not everyone, a lot of people, for their first Janmashtami. The first meditation is, how am I going to get through this fast, And then at midnight when I'm like, great, curtains open, time to break your fast, that was my first thing. So I was like, okay, Krishna, you look nice. I was just about to turn out the door. I looked up into these shiny golden reflectors that we have all over the temple, and I saw a devotee standing in the reflection. I saw a devotee standing 2 feet away from me, in the same line, and she was crying. She had saw that darshan, and the darshan brought her to tears. And then I looked back at Krishna like, wait, now I missed something. Did I miss something? Because I wasn't crying. Maybe if I was crying, it was for other reasons. But I looked and and then I thought I could see the expression of her love. And seeing another person's expression of love is very charming. It does something to the heart. Even if you don't have that love, it does something to the heart. And so therefore I thought okay, Krishna, maybe next Janmashtami I could feel a little bit of what she's feeling, And that was the prayer that I left, And therefore John here, he's witnessing the love of the devotees for Srila Prabhupada. And just witnessing that is transforming him. Just witnessing it. And similarly, we witness the love that the pure devotee has for Krishna. The truth is, we don't know Krishna, And I don't know, when I was in high school, I got locked into a classroom with a Christian service group. And I was just too shy to actually get up and leave, so I just stayed. And I felt the songs were so beautiful, and they were connecting. And at that time, because all the lyrics and songs that I knew were not in a language I could understand, I felt at least the English made sense to me. So after that, I was a bit checking out the Christian path, thinking okay, what is this? Why do I feel connected to it? And then I had a certain neighbor who caught wind of this, and she was of the Christian faith. And this is not to do with the Christian faith. This is to do how in every tradition, you have different types of followers, And then she came up to me and she said, "Do you love Jesus?" And I freaked out. I freaked out because she's asking me if I love someone that I have no idea who they are, And of course, another Christian follower may have approached the situation differently. But because she asked me that, I backed off completely. Because I couldn't go there. I didn't have that yet. There were too many bridges to build, So, so therefore, we can't be told to love. And we can't just expect that we walk into Krishna consciousness with some sort of love. Because that becomes sentimental. It's just sentimental. But at the same time, when we witness somebody else's love, it makes an impression on us. And therefore, when we witness the love of the pure devotee, it makes an impression on us. And then we start to appreciate Krishna. Because first we appreciate the devotee, and then when we see how much they love Krishna, then we think like, okay, maybe I should start appreciating Krishna. So we can read on. The stage was set. Time had come for the principal character to enter. Lord Krishna's pure devotee was at last coming to England. For the 6 devotees who had pioneered Krishna consciousness in London, it had been a long struggle. But now it seemed that all their once impossible dreams were coming true. They found a place for Prabhupada to live in, and they had obtained a temple in the center of London. This was Krishna's blessing. Shyamasundar Prabhu expands on the story in so much color in Chasing Rhinos. I wish I carried it with me. But his book called Chasing Rhinos, I think it's the first volume, where he goes into these details. And when you hear about the phenomenal things that were happening to them, and how Krishna's mercy was so alive in their day-to-day activities. Dhammakanda Swami says that we should be on the cutting edge of devotional service. Meaning that we're constantly pushing ourselves to be more devotionally and do more devotionally, internally and externally. Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Not just externally, not just that we're doing, but pushing ourselves internally and externally. And that's what it means to be on the cutting edge, to be willing to sacrifice at any moment according to what is the desire of the spiritual master. And these devotees were so on the cutting edge, completely on the cutting edge of Srila Prabhupada's will. Chapter 2, London, a dream fulfilled. London, September 11th, 1969. With the cooperation of Apple Records and Lufthansa German Airlines, the devotees arranged a reception for Prabhupada at London's Heathrow Airport. As soon as Prabhupada descended the stairs of the airplane, he was escorted to a car and driven to a VIP lounge, bypassing the formalities of immigration and customs. As Prabhupada stepped from the car, the devotees ran out of the terminal and offered obeisances on the wet pavement. While Srila Prabhupada looked down on them smiling, the devotees rose, brushing wet macadam from their dhotis and saris, and joyfully surrounded Prabhupada as he entered the lounge. Inside the terminal, Prabhupada confronted a mass of reporters and cameramen, several dozen friends of the devotees. A clean cloth covered one of the lounge sofas, and vases with yellow gladioluses sat on either side. Prabhupada walked over to the sofa and sat down, and Shyamasundar garlanded him with red and white carnations. Prabhupada began leading kirtan. The devotees were oblivious to all but Prabhupada, and the reporters resigned themselves to simply standing and observing while the devotees sang and danced ecstatically. The eager devotees were unabashed during the kirtan, And there are shouts of Haribol and Jai Prabhupada, as well as blasts from a conch shell, punctuated the regular chanting of Hare Krishna. This is Heathrow Airport. You have to see it in context. It's Heathrow Airport, the biggest airport in London. When we were going last year to London, we chose to avoid Heathrow as much as possible because it's so clogged, so full of traffic, and they had so many issues during COVID that they couldn't keep up through. London is the essence of the UK, and the essence of London is Heathrow. So Prabhupada is really at this place. And you're going to see it in context, right? Because Srila Prabhupada is coming, originally from India. And India has come through the British rule. And he, in his early days, was a follower of Gandhi. And he tried to stand up against the British rule until he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who kind of streamlined his actions more directly on the spiritual path. So now to come into London, to come into the UK, to come into London, to come into Heathrow Airport, and to be given this sort of reception, it's come full circle. The words of Bhaktisiddhanta has fructified because Srila Prabhupada told Bhaktisiddhanta, what will the spiritual philosophy do if India is still under the British rule? And Bhaktisiddhanta said that, it doesn't matter if India is under the British rule because the external circumstances can change or not change, but what we need to do is present the pure bhakti philosophy. And now Srila Prabhupada took that instruction and he presented the pure bhakti philosophy. And what it's done is it's come full circle right into London, right into the UK. So it proves that Bhaktisiddhanta's words were true. Those group of followers who were following Gandhi and at that time with Srila Prabhupada and pushing forward that mission, would they have had that effect on the UK as Srila Prabhupada did? No. But by staying true to his spiritual master's words and preaching the pure bhakti message, Srila Prabhupada had more effect than them, and of course on a spiritual level. And it took him now right into central London. After the kirtan, the reporters remained at a distance as Prabhupada spoke affectionately to almost each devotee seated before him. "Where's Janaki?" he asked. "Oh yes, how are you?" "Vibhavati, how is your daughter?" "Actually, you are all my fathers and mothers. You are taking such care." For the devotees, only they and Prabhupada were present in the lounge, and they strained to catch everything he did or said. They couldn't have cared less about any outsider's reaction. Finally, Mukunda invited the reporters to come forward. "If any of you gentlemen have any questions, you can ask them of Prabhupada." And this is very endearing. That even though it was such a momentous occasion, what did Srila Prabhupada care about? The devotees. He was wanting to find out how they were, what they were doing, and there's a stream of reporters waiting to interview you. Yeah, what would we have done? Okay, devotees, just step aside and deal with the reporters, because it's the Sankirtan mission. But Srila Prabhupada didn't do that. He knew that these devotees who were in London at this point, they were on the cutting edge of his mission. And so therefore he took the time to lovingly reciprocate with them. The reporters moving in. "What do you think of this reception, Prabhupada?" "I'm not very much fond of reception. I want to know how people give reception to this movement. That is my concern." Devotees in unison. "Haribol!" Reporter. "Is this a very special welcome for you, or is this performance you go through each day? Or is this a performance you go through each day?" "No. Wherever I go, I got my disciples. In Western countries, I've got now about 20 centers, especially in America. So the American boys are very enthusiastic. I think in Los Angeles and San Francisco, I got a very great reception. In the Rath Yatra festival, about 10,000 boys and girls followed me for 7 miles." Devotees. "Haribol!" Sun reporter. What do you try to teach, Sir Prabhupada? I am trying to teach what you have forgotten. Devotees, Haribol! You can see this playing out, Hare Krishna. Sun reporter, which is what? That is God. Some of you are saying there is no God. Some of you are saying God is dead. And some of you are saying God is impersonal or void. These are all nonsense. I want to teach all the nonsense people that there is God. That is my mission. Any nonsense can come to me. I shall prove that there is God. That is my Krishna conscious movement. It is a challenge to the atheistic people. This is God. And we are sitting here face to face. You can see God face to face if you are sincere and if you are serious. That is possible. Unfortunately, you are trying to forget God. Therefore, you are embracing so many miseries in life. So I am simply preaching that you become Krishna conscious and be happy. Don't be swayed by these nonsense waves of Maya or illusion. This is a very famous conversation where Srila Prabhupada is answering, what have you come to teach? I have come to teach what you have forgotten. It's an important line because it emphasizes Srila Prabhupada's humility. It's not I have come to teach what you don't know, because I know and you don't know. It's I've come to teach what you've forgotten. You know it, but you've forgotten it. And so therefore Srila Prabhupada never saw himself as the center. And even when he's speaking about this, what is that? That is God. And when he's calling people nonsense, to the UK reporter, he's not saying it on a platform of, I think I know, or I know and you don't, He's saying it on the platform of, this is Krishna, accept him. And therefore for Srila Prabhupada, Krishna was always the center in his presentation, and not himself. When a reporter asked if the singing was essential to the sustenance of your faith, Prabhupada answered at length, describing the cleansing effect of chanting Hare Krishna. He quoted Srimad Bhagavatam's declaration that anyone without God consciousness has no good qualities. Test any of our students, Prabhupada said, how they are good, how they are advanced. Test it. Oof. This is pretty intense. But it also shows the faith Srila Prabhupada had in his followers. Can you imagine if your spiritual master had said to a reporter, test any of my disciples? Test, what did he say here? How they are good and how they are advanced. I'd be quaking in my boots. I really would be quaking, But Prabhupada was that confident that those who were following him were doing so sincerely. And maybe we also should be prepared to be tested. Because we are tested. Because people are judging Srila Prabhupada, Krishna, and our spiritual master by their interactions with us. That's why we become the representative, because we're kind of like, we present the CV. Our behavior is the CV for people to be willing to employ Krishna. Not in the words, in sense of a job, for people to be willing to accept Krishna. We become, our actions is actually the CV. Okay. Bring anyone in the world and compare it with any one of our boys. You will find how much difference there is in their character and their feeling and their consciousness. If you want a peaceful society, then you must make people God conscious, Krishna conscious. Everything will be automatically resolved. Otherwise, your so-called United Nations will not help. To the core, Prabhupada's just bang, bang, bang. We've heard these things, right? We've heard these Prabhupada speak about the United Nations. It's been 50 to 60 years since Srila Prabhupada was there. It's like, yeah, okay, we've heard these things. But you got to see it in this context. Prabhupada is in London. He's in Heathrow. The reporters from major papers are there. And he is saying, don't be Krishna conscious and your whole United Nations will fall. It's a big deal. Who has guts to say that? You know, it's a big deal when you see it in that context. The reporters asked about Billy Graham, the moon landing, the moon landing, the war in Ireland, and the whereabouts of Prabhupada's wife and children. Oh my God, they really went into it. They asked him to turn his head toward them, and they clicked away with their cameras. They thanked him, and the reception dispersed. Prabhupada went from the building to the gleaming white Rolls Royce, awaiting him outside, courtesy of John Lennon. Prabhupada entered the back seat and sat cross-legged. This is so sweet because it's not going to change him. Whether he's going to be in one Indian ambassador or whether he's going to be in John Lennon's white Rolls Royce, Prabhupada's going to sit the way he sits, cross-legged in the back of the car. The limousine was equipped with the darkened windows and a lavish interior, including a television. The devotees had become so confused in their excitement that none of them had thought to join Prabhupada. And the chauffeur whisked him away to Tittenhurst. Prabhupada sat silently, except for his occasionally audible chanting, as the chauffeur headed through the winding roads leading away from the airport. I find these two lines very interesting because I always wonder how Srila Maharaj is writing this lilamrta, and what sort of meditation he would have to go through to put this together. Because he's writing here, nobody jumped into the car with Srila Prabhupada. So how does Srila Maharaj know that Srila Prabhupada was softly and almost just audibly chanting Hare Krishna quietly as the car was driving? What if Prabhupada had a conversation with the driver? We don't know. So when Srila Maharaj is presenting this lilamrta, he's not just presenting this happened, that happened, the other thing happened. He's having to deeply think about the character of Srila Prabhupada, about his nature, about his usual actions, about how he would perceive things in a certain way. And can you imagine for one moment what the consciousness must be of a person who had to research and write this lilamrta? Constantly sort of grasping every aspect of Srila Prabhupada's life, mood, mission, thoughts, with every paragraph. What a meditation that has to have been for him to produce this book. It's just mind-blowing. It's like walking through fire. It would have meant that Srila Maharaj was living with Srila Prabhupada many years after Srila Prabhupada left. Completely absorbed in that. Completely absorbed. Let's see. He was in England. His father, Gaur Mohan, had never wanted him to come to England. I'm so sorry, but I can't read. Oh, I think it's not working. I don't have my watch, so if someone could just keep track of time for me. I don't know. Anybody has time on them? Because that clock's not working. Anybody has time? Okay, so just tell me when we're like at 25 past. Okay. He was in England. His father, Gaur Mohan, had never wanted him to come to England. Yes, remember? He didn't want him to be the lawyer. Once an uncle had told Gaur Mohan that his son should go to England to become a barrister, But Gormohan had said no. If his son went there, the meat eaters, drinkers, and sex mongers might influence him. But now, 70 years later, Prabhupada had indeed come to London, not to be influenced by the Englishmen, but to influence them. He had come to teach them what they had forgotten. This is very interesting because the mood of Gormohan, it says something to the modern day parent of what we want from our children. Because somehow, and I say this with a disclaimer, because unless you actually have children, you have no idea of what the level of sacrifice is and what the level of attachment is, you know. So with a disclaimer, but somehow we imbibe Krishna conscious philosophy, we change our lives because of it. We can be chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 regular principles, serving the deity, serving Srila Prabhupada's mission. And then there's this child that is a part of us and who we sacrifice so much to raise. And then we somehow shift the goals for our child. You know, I've just seen it play out in so many scenarios. And when I say shift the goals, I mean that in the need to get them educated, raised well, in a job, materially stable, sometimes the spiritual goal for our own children is diluted. And we forget. We forget that actually, you know, ultimately, yes, I want my child to be materially stable, but that if they don't have Krishna, they have nothing. And if they're not developing relationships with the devotees, who are they going to turn to? You know, and if they're not developing association that is saintly, then what association are they developing? And what sort of people are they going to become? And then, okay, they may have that material foundation, but where is it leading them but to hell? And it's not enough that it's just when the child is 6 months, 1 year, oh, they said Hare Krishna, look, they're offering obeisance to Prabhupada, look, the Swami gave them the garland. It's not enough. They may have that foundation and it will take them far, because when their back hits the wall, they'll come back to their roots. But if as parents, we don't recognize that the success of my child is how they're connected spiritually, ultimately it's there, that their spiritual success is their ultimate success. If we don't recognize that, then we are falling short of our own philosophy. Then the philosophy is for the book, and then we practice something else in real life. And it's not to say that young adults and teenagers, they don't need to be materially stable. They need it. But go and look into how much energy it takes to be materially stable. You know, it's going to take 4 to 7 years of a university education. It's going to take, 3-4 years of internship in some other country where there's no association, you know, and then at the end of it all, where are they spiritually? Now, it's not that they can't do these things. They can, and they most likely will. But how are we protecting them? How are we providing them the parallel spiritual nourishment that's going to help them go through it? And Gaur Mohan here, he knew very well that it wouldn't be important for Prabhupada to be a barrister. It was more important for him to learn to play mridanga, because that's what he wanted. And wasn't that an important mridanga? Because it was the mridanga that Srila Prabhupada played in New York City that announced Lord Chaitanya's mission to the world. So what I'm saying here is it's very subtle. It's very subtle as to how you inculcate priority into our children. It's not that I'm saying they should join the temple. It's not what I'm saying. And not that I'm saying that they should never work. What I'm saying is that as they pursue it, we should promote both priorities. Because the Ishopanishad is saying you learn knowledge and ignorance side by side. And that ignorance doesn't mean that you must learn ignorance. It means that whatever material knowledge is needed, okay, you need it. But spiritual knowledge needs to be cultivated parallel, 2 tracks on the same train track. And I'll read one more paragraph, I think, and then we'll round up. As he was off to a good start under Krishna's special care, when he had to live alone in New York City without any money, that had been Krishna's mercy. And now he was entering England in a chauffeured limousine, also Krishna's mercy. Accepting the ride as part of Krishna's plan, Prabhupada remained deeply fixed in his purpose of carrying out the order of his spiritual master, whatever circumstances awaited. As they turned onto Route 4, proceeding towards Slough, Prabhupada saw factories and warehouses, and then the flat countryside with orchards, fields, grazing horses. The grey, chilly winter weather hinted of winter ahead. After about 20 minutes, Prabhupada reached the wealthy neighborhood of Ascot, and soon appearing on the left, the high redwood fence surrounding the Lennon estate. Prabhupada had arrived before his disciples, but those who had remained at the manor excitedly received him and showed him to his room on the 2nd floor of the servants' quarters. The small room was chilly and damp, with a low table for a desk and wall-to-wall carpeting made from pieces of rug taken from the other rooms. The adjoining room was bare and even smaller. Prabhupada sat at his low desk. Where is everyone? And as he leaned back and gazed out the window, he saw rain just beginning to fall. So we'll stop there. I find it very heartwarming when you read of how in the devotees' fervor to give the best for Prabhupada, all these sort of things were going wrong in the interim. Like they're like, Jai Prabhupada. Nobody got into the car. And then he's arriving alone at the estate, not many people there to receive him. And he goes to his room and he's like, where's everyone? And it's like these moments of like, uh-oh. It's kind of like when you hear Vidura, who's like seeing Krishna's here, and then takes the bananas and gives Krishna the peels and throws away the bananas, and Krishna eats the peels. In their ecstasy, we do. There's so many imperfections in our performance of devotional service. So many imperfections. But what Prabhupada is saying here is, if it's sincere, if we're trying our utmost best, it won't be perfect. But if we're trying our best, and we keep trying, whatever the mistakes are, whatever the flaws are, however it is imperfect, the fact that we just get up every day and we keep trying, the process will work. And Prabhupada will accept us. And our service will be offered to Krishna, even in its imperfect state. Yesterday we went to the funeral of a devotee who been serving for like 3 decades at the temple. The devotee's mother, who's been serving for and the devotee's been serving for a long time, but the mother isn't necessarily a devotee, although had some devotional connections, some point in her life she was interested in chanting, sometimes not, and there was quite a strained relationship, between the devotee and the mother. But the mother, and probably they hadn't spoken much in many years, but the mother left on Radha-Astami. And somehow, even though she had a foot in many faiths, there was a Christian priest, there was a Maulana, and then there were the Hare Krishnas, all of us in one funeral. It was quite a package. But she had a full Hare Krishna funeral, like full thing, cremation, Namaste, Narasingaya, the whole thing, and got to leave on Radhastami, and there was just such a sweet kirtan at the funeral, such a sweet kirtan. I was just thinking, like, why don't I have more kirtan in my life? Why is it someone has to die for me to have proper kirtan, like time to just chant Hare Krishna, you know? But, and we have no idea. She had received all this mercy, because she had some connection to devotion and because her child had become a devotee. And maybe her actions in her life may have not been so positive, Maybe there was tons of offenses. But at the end of the day, Krishna didn't see why it's all imperfect. And that's the thing, As devotees, we tend to judge devotees and we tend to judge ourselves. But Krishna, he's just seeing, oh, look, they're trying. They're trying again. So Prabhupada saw that in his disciples. And Krishna sees that in ourselves. And we should see that for ourselves and for others also. So I'll leave it here. I don't know if there's any thoughts, comments, or questions. Good. Okay. Srila Prabhupada lilamrta ki. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki. Nitai Gaura Premananda.